happening, everyone? Hello, and welcome to the Review Roulette Podcast, the podcast that brings strangers together for a movie night. I'm your host, Laura. Join me as I bring two strangers together as we watch and review a randomly selected movie. Now let's spin that wheel and see what movie Lady Luck has picked for us tonight. Hello, and welcome to the Review Roulette. This is a special Roundtable review edition. This was an impossible movie to find, apparently. But Miss Rainey, our Australian correspondent, suggested we watch this, and then just now told us that it was supposed to be really hard to find. So I guess we were up for the challenge, and we found it on Quibi. Tubi. What is Quibi?
Quibi was the mobile phone only, the 10.
Oh, that's that thing that died. That's right.
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like Tubi. I guess Tubi's still alive. Tubi evolved, or it's like made it to the end of the pack. But so we will be watching Housebound. Nick, do you want to tell us what Housebound is about?
Yes, Housebound came out in 2014. The premise is a woman is forced to return to her childhood home after being placed under house arrest, where she suspects that something evil may be lurking. This movie is written and directed by Gerard Johnstone, and he is known for Housebound, the Jackie Brown Diaries, and the New Legends of Monkey, which now I kind of want to see that.
It's on Netflix.
It is on Netflix. And then this movie stars Morgana O'Reilly, who plays Kylie Bucknell, and she is known for Housebound, This Is Littleton, and 10,000 Days. It also stars Rima Tawiata, I'm not going to get that name right,
Sorry.
who plays Miriam Bucknell. And she is known for Housebound, Hunt for the Wild People, and Shark in the Park. And lastly, this stars Glenn Paul Waru, who plays Amos. He is known for Housebound, Russian Snark, and a host on the show called The Hood.
For 2 years.
For 2 years.
Oh, that Wild People one, that was a Taka Waititi movie, or however.
The Hunt for the Wilder People?
Yes, that was his movie. Yeah, but that's the guy from he's in Godzilla. He's in that trailer that we didn't watch today.
Oh yeah.
But okay, so we obviously we're gonna have Rainey on here because this was her idea, and it's probably gonna sound like there's three people because I'm gonna call her Alex and Rainey, and then I'm gonna call our other guest AnDread and Andrew because it's gonna be a whole group of people where I can't get their nicknames and their real names straight. But so I figured if it's a horror movie and I'm not a very good horror movie information person, I should probably get the one person that I know that actually knows a lot about horror movies. So I guess we'll start out with Miss Rainey, and she can tell us why we have to watch Housebound.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. Well, good evening. Good afternoon. Good day.
We are in 3 different time zones all day.
Yeah, so Housebound is a New Zealand film. You don't get a lot of New Zealand films, but they all have a very unique sense of humor, even with their horror movies. So it's definitely worth a watch because it's got some interesting concepts to it, or a twist on an original thing that you might have seen before.
I kind of like the idea of like being trapped in the house, but it's like she's legally trapped in the house. It's not like it's like she's literally
extra layer to it.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's like you could leave at any time, but it's like, well, do I want to get arrested? Like I thought that was kind of an interesting thought. It's like,
yeah,
most of the other ways, it's like the ghost locked the door, and she's just like, well, my bracelet goes off if I go out. So I was thinking about that earlier today. I'm like, that's a very interesting idea where it's you're literally imprisoned in your own house.
When people yell at the screen, just leave, and you're like,
I don't want to go to jail. Also, that it's either I didn't watch it before this because I wanted it to be the first time I watched it, but I thought it'd be kind of interesting. It's like you had to pick between going to jail or like going to live at your old house with your parents, where it's just like some people that might be worse than jail, and then some people they'd like rather go. Like I'd rather go home because I like love my parents, but I would imagine there's some people where it's like I will go to jail. You could lock me up, it's fine. Like maybe, well, I guess maybe that'd be more torture. Be like you have to go stay with your parents. Now, and then let's see. So then, I was gonna ask something else. Oh, I guess one of the things that I'll bring AnDread on because he had asked what are some major differences between like Australian films and New Zealand films?
I do think that New Zealanders, well, the Kiwis, as we call them, they tend to. I think they're a lot better at taking the Mickey out of themselves than we are. We call, taking the Mickey. Yeah, they have a very odd sense of humor compared to us. It's a lot more quirky.
I really love what we do in the shadows. Like that's
yeah.
I think I always feel bad because I think that's an Australian movie, and I was like, no, it's from New Zealand. But I think we were like suggested to watch that one like the year it came out, and then it just instantly became my favorite movie of all time. Like we randomly quote the not yet.
I know. Sorry.
Oh yeah, but we randomly quote that movie like all the time. Like I don't know how many people have tried to explain like the virgin sandwich analogy or like never gets the faces right. I don't know. Or like I say it was Peter like all the time because I have a coworker that's named Peter. So every time I see him, like, it's Peter. It's like I get to just drop it in all the time. But thanks for coming, AnDread. I'll bring you on. And I guess I forgot to say, I guess Rainey, tell us a little bit about yourself. I keep forgetting to do that all the time. I get so excited to talk about the movie.
Okay, so I'm Rainey, or Alex, as you might end up hearing both. I run a podcast called the Writers Locke, that's with an E, and it's a podcast about incredibly niche Pokemon fan fiction from the Nuzlocke community. So if you like dramatic stories where Pokemon die and trainers get really upset, that's the podcast for you. And I love horror movies. That's why I'm here today. And that's about it at the moment.
Nice. Okay. Well, speaking of horror movies, AnDread/Andrew said I'll just call you AnDread, right? Is that what do you want to be called, AnDread?
I mean, it doesn't matter, but AnDread's fine. You know, since we're on a podcast here, getting out my podcast name.
Yeah, you were smart. I should have like thought of a cool name. But like, no, I just get my own. Like you were one step ahead of me. So tell us about your awesome podcast.
So I have a podcast called Freaks and Psychos, the Disability and Horror Podcast, and it covers just what the title says, exploring disability issues in the horror genre. And I just started it last year. I'm up to 8 episodes so far, and it's been a lot of fun. It's kept me my sanity up during the hell that was last year. And thank you both for your support of the podcast. You're always saying nice things about it, so I appreciate that. And I'm excited for this podcast to get going. You know, you have a couple episodes, and I've been listening to those, and I think it's a great way to bring people together to watch movies, since it's hard to do that now in person.
Yeah. It's like I always feel bad because it's like it's almost more fun to make it than it is to put it out. But then it's like I don't really care if other people listen to it. It's like I have fun on Sundays. Yeah. But I get to meet some very interesting people. Like I don't know if I ever would have ever been able to talk to you other than just like on Twitter from before. So it's like, oh nice. It's like I actually get to talk to people. It's not just me sending really long messages to people, which I feel really bad doing that. I'm not very concise. So it's just like every time I feel like I'm like going on Twitter, I'm like, dear sir, it's just like this long, like written out letter. It's just like, I'm really sorry. I just send Rainey memes. I just make memes. Send them to
Yep.
They're mainly memes about my angriness toward time zones, but yeah. But I was gonna ask you, AnDread, for like ghost stories. How would you like link those with your how would you do a ghost story for your type of podcast? Like what sort of disability is most commonly associated with some sort of ghost story or anything like?
I mean, probably I would say mental disability, some sort of form of mental illness, whether it's, there's a lot of times when people are going into abandoned asylums where there were horrific treatment of the patients there. And so then there are, the vengeful spirits of the inmates, or sometimes there's an ambiguity played out whether is the person who's claiming to see the ghost mentally ill, or are they actually seeing something supernatural, you know? So that enters into it a lot. Sometimes you have, you know, I'm thinking about like The Changeling, if you've ever seen that with George C. Scott, where, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but the ghost, the ghost that's in that movie was killed because of having, it's not really specified that I remember, but just not being a healthy boy. So
yeah, because I was wondering about that, because it seemed like all the other ones, it's like, oh, you could attribute different things, but it was like you could either say that the people seeing the ghosts are crazy, or that they were unjustly treated before they died, and that's why they became ghosts. So it's like it was. I was trying to think about that. But is there any Pokemon fanfic that's horror related in the Nuzlocke community? I feel like that could be something. They could fuck you. How scary would that be?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think I've actually seen a few. Yeah, they're a bit rare because it's hard to write horror in general. So so a lot of people don't tend to tackle it.
I was trying to, because it's hard to, like, I would imagine it's hard to be like jump when you're reading anything. I guess it would have to be like the long draw. I was trying to think of the scariest thing that I've read. I can't really think of anything.
Stephen King does usually just.
That's more just like what?
He more just into the theme of what's going on.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't know how you'd write a typical.
It's not just like you jump and like miss your. Yeah. I was like. That's more like atmospheric, kind of weird. Or I think the last Stephen King I read was other than the Dark Tower ones, it was like Under the Dome. And like every time I was reading, I was like, you just feel like it's going to end like the next page, but there's like 700 more pages to go. You're like, I guess they're just gonna. It just keeps going, and keeps going. And then I guess for you two, we'll start with Rainey. What's your favorite horror movie? And then what's the movie that like messed with you the most? It doesn't have to be the same one.
Ooh. Well, a movie that messed with me the most. Oh, I did watch In the Mouth of Madness the other week. A friend showed it to me. Finally saw it. That was quite a good one, although Sam Neill's New Zealand accent kept slipping through.
Oh, that one. Okay, that's really familiar. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I quite like that existential horror, you know, and also like, what's going on? That sort of thing.
So is that your favorite one too?
My favorite one would be, well, I think I've talked about Razorback before.
You could always bring up Razorback. Sounds amazing. When Rainey was on, that was the movie that she put in the pool, and she was like, "It's this giant pig movie," and we're like, "Yes, you can put that in." That sounds amazing.
Gotta be the giant pig movie.
And so AnDread, what's your favorite horror movie, and then what's one that stuck with you the longest?
My favorite would be definitely Night of the Living Dead. You know, I'm originally from Pittsburgh, and that's where George Romero made a lot of his movies, and it became kind of a cultural icon in that town. So, you know, I have a deep connection because of that, and it's really the only film that's ever actually given me nightmares. I've seen so much horror, and I've seen it from such a young age that I don't really get scared by horror. Really, I mean, jump scares, I get startled. I can get psychologically disturbed, but I wouldn't say that I really get scared in the sense that I feel like people generally mean.
like most people.
Yeah, so that's the only one that's ever given me nightmares, just because I think the idea of people who you know and love turning into monsters is kind of the only thing that really scares me, I guess. So, you know, I had dreams where my parents were turning into zombies, so that was pretty scary.
Oh, cool. That would make you feel vulnerable. You're like, oh, the people that took care of me are now trying to eat me.
Right, yeah. And there's also, you know, that idea of the uncanny where it's familiar, it's the familiar turned unfamiliar. You know, I think that is, for a lot of people, that's where the horror lies, right? It's if something is so far removed, you know, like Godzilla, we're both Godzilla fans, right? But Godzilla isn't scary because it's a giant,
Yeah.
200-foot tall monster that, yes, it can destroy you, but it's not really scary in the same way. But if it's something that is turned against you, I think that's true horror.
Yeah, that would, because I think the last time we were talking about Housebound, it was like we had the Lake Mungo, and then in the one scene she sees her own, I guess that's the spoiler. I'll put that out. But she sees somebody that looks like her, and we were talking about how like that would be so weird that you're seeing something that is you, but isn't you, and then it's like I don't even know if I saw my own ghost, would I recognize myself? Because you're so used to seeing yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, would I recognize myself? It was just like a little bit different, and then or if I knew, like, because if you look at pictures, you obviously know that's yourself, but it's like that person over there looks kind of like me. It's like, but they're dead. Or I was even thinking, what would it be? Like the Uncanny Valley of just like that's not me. But oh yeah, that's not. I never watched horror movies until I was like older, because we never really got into those. But like I guess my favorite one is Earnest Scared Stupid. So
yeah.
So if you're ever like on episode like 250 and just digging deep, I can come on for Earnest Scared Stupid.
You didn't think I'd be able to find the Miak, did you?
Swedish stereos. Yeah, oh my god, I love that movie so much. Yeah, but that's my favorite one. But like the one that always messed with me the most is like we watched Get Out, but we watched it with the original intended ending, where instead of his friend, it's the cops that come and they arrest him. And I like Get Out. I like that was one of the things where it's like I could tell that was such a good movie. It's because I liked it and I didn't like horror movies. And the whole time I'm watching it, I was like, that's what I would do. Like I feel like it's like you watch some movies and you're like, oh, that bitch is running upstairs. Like why are you doing that? And it's like I feel like everything that guy did in the movie is like, oh, he's really smart, but this is all still happening to him. It's just like, oh, so that's so Earnest Scared Stupid, top favorite horror movie. But Get Out is the one that messes with me much. I watch Earnest Scared Stupid every Halloween, and I get so excited. And then I was so excited when I found out that they're the trolls are the clowns from Killer Clowns from Outer Space, because it was the same people. And I'm like, oh, they got to keep living on. It's like they just reused them for a stupid Ernest movie. And then Ernest,
nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I believe they made it for Attack on. It's the Russo brothers.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think Earnest Scared Stupid came out after. So I think they just repainted the Killer Clowns from Outer Space puppets for Earnest Scared Stupid for the trolls at the end. And those were the scariest things when I was little. And I love that movie so much. That was the first person I remember when what is it? Now I can't remember his name. His real name, Ernest. I remember when I remember when he passed away when I was little, and I was like, that was when I was like somebody that I liked isn't here anymore, and I was like, that was like devastated because Ernest had passed away. I was very sad. 70. What is it? Ernest? Jim Varney. That's right. Yeah, I was very sad when Jim Varney passed away. But Nick, you actually like horror movies. So what is your favorite one? And what is one that messed? I know. So Nick's probably like you, Andrew, where you're kind of dead on the inside from horror movies, where it's just like, it's fine. It's fine. It's like this would make other people very scared. But
I think the only one that ever kind of scared me would be the original Child's Play, and that's only because that was the first movie my mom took me to see when I was a kid in the theaters. So instead of seeing a kids movie or anything, she took me to Child's Play.
Probably thought it was.
No, she loved. My mom loves horror, and that's how I got into horror.
Oh, nice.
Although I do say Halloween 3, I really like a lot too. That's one of my favorites, and then probably the Puppet Master series, even though it's bad. I just really like the movements of the puppets in the early films.
The first one's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like the third one where they fight Nazis.
I just like
Yeah. The third one is good as well.
And that's what is that, Six Shooters debut?
Yes.
Yeah. I just like the puppets. I don't know. I guess you can't even do it. We own some of the puppets.
Yeah.
Or not the real puppets. That would be amazing. But we built replicas of the puppets from the movie, so we can have creepy Blade staring at us all the time from our house. But yeah. So should we get the movie started? We'll get Housebound going, and then I guess I was trying to. There was you can keep trying to find it. I was trying to find the documentary about like the Australian film business, like the story Down Under. The one that
Oh, there is a good one. Yeah.
was
Ozploitation.
yes,
It's called Ozploitation.
it was Matt Burkett that was telling me about it because he said it was amazing and how essentially a lot is, I don't know if it's the same in New Zealand, but I know they have like the New Zealand country, like the production company where essentially like the government funds a lot of the movies.
Yeah, we have the same sort of thing.
Yeah. So, because didn't you say if it goes over budget, they get arrested or they can get fined from the?
Ooh,
Maybe that was Matt that was telling me that. He said
yeah.
the whole
I'm
thing is
not aware of that myself.
because he said it was like they could essentially you are stealing money from the state. So if you go over budget or go over time, you can get fined and you get like tickets, which would be amazing if you're like, excuse me, sir, you've gone over this your budget limit. It's like, oh,
Dang. What's that available on? Do you know if that's streaming
I
somewhere?
think we found it
Ooh.
on Amazon because he had linked it to us.
Yeah.
Because he's
Okay.
telling there's a big part of it that talks about how because he was talking about like I can't remember if it was Kamen Rider or Super Sentai, but essentially a lot of the production moved to Australia and it almost sank the entire Australian film business trying to fund the special effects for, I think it must have been Kamen Rider because they were able to get it made, but like they were trying to make the I don't know if it'd be localized, but it's because it was but it was a whole part of that was just like them trying to get this like tokusatsu show going, but then because I think New Zealand has amazing tax breaks for shows because that's why a lot of Power Rangers still films over there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the Lord of the Rings people are Power Rangers, like
Yeah, you see him cross over a few times.
like Thorin was like a ranger, like it'd be fun. Yeah, he's a ranger and a dwarf. But then I guess we'll get it started.
Okay, we're just going to go watch the movie now, and we'll be right back here for our review in part 2 in just a second. But just so you don't feel left out, here are some choice clips from us watching the movie.
Gosh, that's high tech, isn't it? You're lucky, Kylie, having all that fancy technology on your foot. Quite
Yeah, very lucky, Mom. I love the mother character. She's probably my favorite in this movie.
Yep, mine too.
We don't even have a cat.
It's a ghost cat.
It'd be an interesting horror movie. Instead of people, it's just like ghost animals just trying to like live their life.
Yeah.
Like that's why it's teacups being pushed over because it's just a ghost cat messing with you. Ha ha ha. Why? Why, Kylie? Why? I loved you. Oh.
I would never do that to my friend.
You in hell.
Hello, Moto.
It's freaking Scry's ringtone.
It is.
You can never turn his phone off during any sort of live stream.
A lot of money. Whoever it belonged to took.
Oh my God, the Antique Roadshow thing paid off.
Yes, it did.
Never know when that knowledge is.
I never realized that in the original.
Is there something
When I
else
saw it,
bring to the
saw it
table?
originally.
Shitty. I'm just being devil's advocate.
No,
That's
you're
the best
undermining
thing
me.
that has
It's something
ever
that pissed me
happened.
off.
Till one day I caught him tearing the limbs off a moggy to see if he could put him on backwards.
What's a moggy?
A cat.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Oh.
Stick.
Let's get started with part 2, shall we? But first, if you'd like to be a guest on the Review Roulette podcast, just sign up at our website. It's www.reviewroulettepod.com. That's www.reviewroulettepod.com.
Oh my goodness, that was hilarious. That was not at all in any way what I thought it was going to be. but Housebound was amazing.
I'm glad you liked it.
Took a lot of twists and turns.
It's like it was so thick it was like concrete by the end. I was like, I don't know what's going on anymore. It's like, oh, I as soon as it attacked the one guy, I was just like, I bet it's the therapist, but that's not at all how I thought it was going to be, the therapist guy at the end. But oh my goodness, that was great. That was great. I guess I guess we could go through ratings. We could score it. Where did I put this down? And then, so how many times have you seen it, Rainey?
This will be the second time, I think.
Nice.
So there's a lot that I didn't remember.
It was interesting how like everything paid off. Like it was like even the road, like the Antiques Roadshow was the payoff point in that movie.
Yeah.
But it would have been interesting if it had more like when she threw the thing at his face, like maybe there was a random point where she's like, she got really good at frisbee golf for 8 months, or like the different things, or like she did seem very well, for what is it? Because she always could figure out everything. Like she was like a detective.
Yeah.
Like she kind of turned into Sherlock Holmes when she became house arrested. I guess if
Well, she was watching those detective TV shows.
Oh, see TV.
Remember when the mum came in, it's like, it's coronation time.
What is that a TV? I always thought that was a soap opera.
Yeah,
Is it
Coronation Street. Yeah, it's a British show.
I was like, that sounds like the one they always talk on the BBC, and I was like, oh my goodness. Oh. I mean, what did you think? Because you hadn't seen it before.
I hadn't seen it before. I liked it a lot. Actually, had more comedy than I would have thought.
Yeah.
It was hard to tell with something that's like a mixture of horror and comedy, but I feel like it mixed it together good.
Yeah. Because what did they say on the what is the Into Darkness? It was like a good horror comedy should be like 60% horror and like 40% comedy. Because it's like you can't go too funny. And it's a lot of the comedy was like the music. So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
It was just like all the different music spells, and then the 3/4 Jesus that was randomly in her. Oh, so was there a house, the halfway house, or did they buy the halfway house and just had all of the halfway house stuff in their house? That's
So
what
it sounded like the halfway house had to shut down after the murder, so they bought it for cheap, and they just left everything there.
Yeah, they just threw it in the basement. I'm like, oh, there it goes.
Oh, because I guess she did say that the lady died in her room.
Yeah.
That would be. Yeah, because I was thinking of when there was like they come to the realization that he's in the walls. I'm like, oh, it's like all those other horror movies where the person's in the walls. But I'm like, that's like the best way they ever showed that, because it's like this weird big house and like the people don't even really know. Like there's a room in there. It's like, oh, that makes sense. He's just hanging out. He's got his TV, fixes things and turns off the power. I was like, oh, that was awesome. But I guess we'll just do a general like what would you guys on a like grade school grading scale? What Rainey, what would you put it for? Or
I'll
like
always give it an A+ always.
It's hard to rate these ones because everybody was like, this is the movie I wanted to watch. So obviously
I'm very biased.
Well, AnDread, what would you grade it? If it's just a general, we'll just go general passing scale.
I guess I would say B+, leaning towards A-. I think it's pretty well done. There are a few things I think that keep it from being up to an A, but I enjoy it a lot.
It's like I'd probably give it an A. I really like that.
What was the term we learned for cat? What was?
Oh, was it Moggy?
Moggy.
It was like, I think that was really the only I think there was like 2 other terms I didn't understand, but really like the fact that it was New Zealand, like location wise, I guess I wouldn't have guessed, but a lot of the humor seemed like that. Like a lot. I guess I'm the only thing I really have to reference it to is what we do in the shadows. But like sometimes when like the cop guy went at the computer, like that seemed like that was like, oh, what we do in the shadows kind of thing, where it's just like him just pecking away and then him dying in the shower. Like when they showed him in the shower, I thought that was Eugene hanging out in the shower. I'm like, oh no, it's the cop. It's like, oh my goodness. It's like,
New Zealanders really like their situational humor.
like then they're just blood spurting everywhere, and then it just felt like it was
that's got to be an homage to Peter Jackson.
Not is it not
Dead Alive?
I always want to say They Live, and I know that's not Dead Alive.
Dead Alive.
Oh, I remember I think we watched Dead Alive, and then I was looking through Peter Jackson IMDb, and Meet the Feebles came up. I'm like, oh, what's this? And it's horrible. I watched all of it. Kind of regret it, but I watched all of it.
I think I started that one and could not finish it because I was just like,
me
what
too. Yep.
is this?
Yep. Yeah, me too.
Oh my god. Yeah, it was like somebody spent money on that. They said it was a student film. I was just like, I don't know. I forgot what point I got out on, but I don't know if it was when like the Bugs Bunny one got sick, and I was like, I can't do this. I think it's on YouTube, and I was just like, why is this here? This man directed Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings. And King Kong, which I guess is closer to Meet the Feebles. I don't know. Did you watch? Because I think that was before.
I didn't watch Meet the Feebles with you.
No. You probably would get more enjoyment out of it. I was so confused the whole time, but I was just like, this is interesting. But yeah, it definitely Homebound, definitely a lot better. Is there any other movies like this that you would recommend?
Yes,
either of you?
I have two movies like this. So The People Under the Stairs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very similar. Also, there's an Australian movie that came out last year called Relic.
Oh, that's an excellent movie. Yeah.
Yes, and that also has a part in the walls thing.
Is that the generational one? Where it's like
it's kind of similar to Hereditary and that sort of vibe.
There's no comedy in that one. That's a very
definitely
slow,
not
dramatic movie, but
slow burn.
It's more in the gothic vein of horror, which I always dig.
It's always interesting how like they advertise horror movies, because when I was watching, I think I read a little bit about Relic, but the one trailer I watched, it looked more like, oh, this is this woman coming to terms with her sick mom. And then I saw another one that was just like the straight up horror trailer for it. I was just like, you might not want to trick people too bad into watching this if it's like, oh, it's just a story of like the generational story. And that's like, oh nope, it's weird. It's weird.
There's horror in it for sure. Yeah, but it's very subtle.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that one out.
The claustrophobia in that movie, geez.
Yeah, well, and the body horror too. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
My two least favorite things. That's great.
I have to write that one down.
You have to write that. Yeah, it's been watching. Oh, yeah. I don't know, because I think I don't like being jumpy, because I'm jumpy, so I think that's why I don't like horror movies, because it's like I already am jumpy. I don't need to be more jumpy or just like enjoy being jumpy. But then like it's like I have like a lot of like empathy for characters, so it's like the horror movies, I'm just like I feel like I'm the person running up the stairs. I'm like, I'm so stupid, I ran up the stairs. It's just like, oh, it's just like it's weird how like horror movies can pull you more into like feeling more about the character, like you have more empathy toward the people as like an action movie where stuff's blowing up, where it's like that's not really realistic. But it's like I feel like a horror movie is usually the more grounded. You can kind of get into them a little bit more, feel them out a little bit more. But and AnDread, is there any ones like this that you would recommend?
I think People Under the Stairs, like Rainey said, is probably the best corollary in terms of story-wise. I'm trying to think in terms of other comedies that would be.
I think you're cutting out.
Am I back?
Yes. Yay.
Okay.
Yay.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
We thought the ghosties got you.
Is your computer full of ghosts?
Oh my goodness. But so what is it? People Under the Stairs, and is there another movie you would recommend that was kind of like maybe more of a horror comedy instead of making me watch horrible body and claustrophobia?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something where because I don't know, Rainey, if you would agree with this. I mean, the comedy in Housebound is not necessarily like where it's hitting you over the head with it. With a lot of the horror comedies, it's, as you said, situational comedy, right? So I can't think of a good example of something else like that where it's kind of more just woven into the situation rather than like putting things in there that are obviously gags. I don't know. I mean, Shaun of the Dead comes to mind. I don't know if that's
Yeah. New Zealand
uh,
and British humor do share a lot of the same beats.
yeah. I mean, Black Sheep is another New Zealand horror comedy, but that one is a lot more comedy than it is horror.
I like that.
It's very ridiculous. Killer Sheep.
Oh yeah, Killer Sheep. That's up there with Killer Pigs and Razorback. That'd be great. Okay. Well, I guess. Oh crap. Well, we have another episode after this. So if you guys want to tell everybody where they can find you, and then we'll go to Rainey because you made us watch Housebound or wherever you can shill your stuff.
Okay. Oh yes. I'm Rainey. If you want to hear more of my lovely voice, you can go on Spotify and look up the Writers Locke. That's Locke with an E. And yeah, we talk about incredibly niche Pokemon fan fiction from the Nuzlocke community. Yay.
Like you love your little Pokemon until they die, and then you find another one. Like, oh.
And we're going to be starting season 2 hopefully very soon.
How many episodes is in the first season?
Oh, I forget. 12, I think. 12.
Like, oh my goodness. That's a lot.
And there was a Halloween special as well.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for recommending Housebound. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was sure that you would like it.
And then AnDread, you can shill your podcast and anything else you got going on. And then what's your next episode about?
So Freaks and Psychos, the Disability in Horror podcast. You should be able to find that on any major podcast platform. And you can find it on Twitter at Freaks Psychos. And the next episode coming up will be on Mike Flanagan's Hush. So
that's right.
I think that'll be a fun episode. So yeah, you can find us. There's a Facebook group as well. If you look up Freaks and Psychos podcast, you should be able to find the group just by searching that on Facebook. So, and if you want to go to the website, you can download the episodes on there too if you don't have a podcast app. Freaks and Psychos podcast.com.
It's like nice. I remember when we made our movie pool, we added Hush. Like out of all the movies we initially added before we got the suggestions, I was like, this one sounds good. I'll just add it in. So I'm interesting when that one comes up because I've never seen it. So I get to watch it with people who've never seen it, maybe they've seen it, but I haven't seen it. So I
haven't seen it either.
It's like, oh, that's the one.
It's a good one.
Is that is she mute and blind? I'm trying to remember the name.
Deaf. She's deaf and has a guy trying to break into the house to kill her.
Yeah. Ooh.
So
that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that reminds me. There's the do you remember the name of that video game where you're the main character's blind? So it's by
Echolocation.
Yeah. So it's supposed to.
I can't remember the name of it.
It was. I only remember because as one of the projects that Elijah Wood founded when he was got all of his Lord of the Rings money. He started that studio where you could just send him ideas. And so the people who made that game sent it to Elijah Wood. So it's like they made that game and then they made the Greasy Strangler because that was another one where they're like, we want to make this movie. Elijah Wood, you want to give us money? And he's like, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean it's a bit of a trope where you take a female with a disability and have her menaced by some kind of killer. But with Hush, I think they tried to make it where, she's pretty tough, badass character. So they were trying to update that trope a little bit in that movie.
That would be nice.
Cool.
Yeah, that'll be good. Well, thank you both for coming on. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Sunday. And then you're Monday morning.
I get to enjoy the rest of my day now.
Yes. We're gonna go watch a random movie with St. J and and Nick. And then we're going to try not to talk about the Godzilla trailer because I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I think Matt was just streaming just then.
Yeah, I don't want to see it. I
haven't seen the trailer yet. I'll have to watch it later.
It's like I haven't decided if I want to see it or not because it's like the movie comes out next month. I'm like I could just go in and watch a movie. and enjoy it.
I usually don't watch trailers, but for this movie, I mean, I know I'm going to watch it and nothing is going to spoil it for me. You know, nothing is going to take away my enjoyment. So it's just going to make me more pumped for it. So, which was the case.
That makes sense. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I kept
I'm
thinking
actually hoping it comes out here.
oh, I didn't think about
Yeah, because we don't have HBO like Max or anything here.
Yeah, that's that. Warner Brothers has done a terrible job with that. I feel bad for people outside the US. Hopefully they'll work out a deal with some kind of streaming platform.
Well,
I guess we'll just have to
HBO
see.
HBO is associated with Foxtel, which is a Murdoch thing. So it's basically a cable thing, so you have to pay an exorbitant amount.
Oh, geez.
So, I'm really hoping it comes out in theaters.
here and you can watch it with us.
Yay! That would be great.
The StreamYard party. Maybe illegal. Oh, I don't know. It's not illegal if we don't broadcast it, right?
No,
That's probably
Nobody has to know.
we can't travel here or anything. But yeah, thanks for coming. You guys have a good rest of your day. We're gonna go hopefully watch it. Maybe we'll watch Hush. You never know. You never know. But,
All right.
Watch Razorback. Bye.
Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
This has been the Review Roulette Podcast. I'm your host, Laura. A special thanks goes to Rainey for suggesting that we watch Housebound on this Roulette Roundtable edition. It was amazing. It's probably my favorite movie I've watched in a really long time. To anybody who's listening, as soon as you're done listening, you need to go get Tubi and you need to go watch Housebound. And thanks also for AnDread for coming on with us. He's he doesn't know this, but he's our resident horror expert. We're going to make him come on for all of the horror movies from now on. They both have amazing podcasts. Miss Rainey has the Writers Locke. It is a Pokemon fan fiction from the Nuzlocke community. It is you will love those Pokemon, you'll care for those Pokemon, and you'll be very sad when those Pokemon die. And then speaking of horror, we had our AnDread has his podcast. It is Freaks and Psychos, a disability and horror podcast. They're both anywhere you listen to your podcasts. And then come back next week for a brand new episode of the Review Roulette Podcast.
End.